It was a Friday, just like any other. I woke up, had my coffee, and went to work. The morning was quiet, the kind of stillness that makes you feel like the world is holding its breath. My coffee was the same as always, a comforting ritual that marked the start of another day. My job? Pretty boring, actually, data entry. But hey, it pays the bills. The office was as dull as ever, rows of cubicles filled with people just like me, tapping away at their keyboards. The hum of computers and the occasional ring of a phone were the soundtrack of my day. I spent hours staring at spreadsheets, inputting numbers that seemed to blur together after a while. After work, I was beat. Ordered pizza, watched some TV, you know the drill. The pizza was greasy but satisfying, a small comfort after a long day. The TV shows were mindless, just background noise to fill the silence of my apartment. I felt a sense of routine, a predictable pattern that was both comforting and stifling. Before bed, I decided to browse the web a bit. Nothing special, just killing time. I scrolled through social media, checked my emails, and watched a few random videos. It was my way of unwinding, a chance to disconnect from the monotony of the day. The glow of the laptop screen was the only light in the room, casting long shadows on the walls. But then, a link caught my eye. It was on one of those dark web forums, places I usually avoid. The title was intriguing, something about hidden secrets and forbidden knowledge. I hesitated for a moment, my cursor hovering over the link. I knew I should just close the laptop and go to bed. But curiosity got the better of me. Curiosity got the best of me and I clicked. The screen flickered for a moment and then a new page loaded. It was dark, with strange symbols and cryptic messages. My heart raced as I scrolled through the content, feeling a mix of excitement and dread. What had I stumbled upon? The night was no longer ordinary. It had taken a turn into the unknown. The forum was creepy, filled with posts about conspiracies and illegal stuff. I was about to close the tab when I saw it. A post titled, "I exposed the Illuminati and now they're after me." My heart skipped a beat. Intrigued, I clicked. The post was long, rambling, probably fake. But the author claimed to have uncovered proof of the Illuminati's existence. Secret meetings, hidden symbols, the works. He even posted some blurry photos as evidence. I spent an hour reading that crazy post, laughing at the absurdity of it all. I mean, the Illuminati? Come on. Still, something about the author's fear felt real. He claimed they were watching him, tapping his phone, even threatening his family. He ended the post with a chilling message: "They're everywhere. They could be anyone. You could be next." I closed my laptop, feeling a shiver down my spine. I told myself it was just a story, but the seed of doubt had been planted. The next morning, I woke up to the sound of my phone buzzing. It was early, and the sunlight was just beginning to filter through the blinds, casting long shadows across the room. I reached out groggily, my hand fumbling for the source of the noise. As I squinted at the screen, I saw a news notification that made my heart skip a beat. Local man found dead in suspected suicide. The headline was stark and chilling, standing out against the mundane notifications of emails and social media updates. My blood ran cold as I clicked on the article. The details were sparse, but the implications were enough to send a shiver down my spine. The man in question was someone I recognized, someone whose name had become synonymous with controversy and danger. It was the guy from the forum, the one who had been making waves with his bold claims and unsettling revelations. He had always seemed paranoid, convinced that he was being watched. But I had never taken him seriously. Now, I wondered if I should have. He was the one who claimed to have exposed the Illuminati, a shadowy organization that he believed was pulling the strings behind the scenes. His posts had been filled with cryptic messages and dire warnings, but they had always seemed more like the ramblings of a conspiracy theorist than anything grounded in reality. The police ruled it a suicide, but the details were strange. There were too many unanswered questions, too many loose ends that didn't quite add up. The official report was brief, almost dismissive, but the more I read, the more uneasy I felt. The details were strange. They found him surrounded by newspaper clippings about conspiracy theories. his walls plastered with articles and photographs connected by a web of red string. It was like something out of a detective novel, but this was all too real. They found him surrounded by newspaper clippings about conspiracy theories, his face frozen in a mask of terror. It was as if he had seen something so horrifying that it had literally scared him to death. The image haunted me, lingering in my mind long after I'd put the phone down. His face frozen in a mask of terror. I couldn't shake the feeling that something was terribly wrong. The more I thought about it, the more convinced I became that this was no ordinary suicide. There was something darker at play, something that went beyond the realm of the explainable. I couldn't shake the feeling that something was terribly wrong. As I walked through the dimly lit alleyways of my own neighborhood, I found myself looking over my shoulder, half expecting to see a shadowy figure lurking in the darkness. The sense of unease was palpable, a constant reminder that the world was not as safe as I had once believed. Later that day I was at work trying to focus on my spreadsheets, but the news about the dead blogger kept flashing in my mind. Then, my phone rang. I picked up, expecting it to be a telemarketer, but the voice on the other end sent chills down my spine. "Hello?" I said, my voice trembling slightly. Silence. Just the faint sound of static. Then a raspy voice, barely a whisper, said, "Stop looking. They're watching." Before I could respond, the line went dead. I tried to brush it off as a prank, but my heart pounded in my chest. The figure in the rearview mirror was there for just a moment, but it felt like an eternity. I couldn't shake the feeling that something was terribly wrong. I couldn't concentrate on work. My mind kept drifting back to that night. The shadows in the hallway seemed to stretch and twist, almost as if they were alive. I started to question my own sanity. Every time I looked up, I felt like someone was watching me. The feeling was so intense that I began to avoid looking out the windows altogether. I even started closing the blinds during the day, but the sense of being watched never left. Shadows seemed to move in the corners of my vision. Was I going crazy? I began to see figures lurking in the alleys, always just out of clear sight. They never approached, but their presence was unmistakable. It was as if they were waiting for something. That night, I couldn't sleep. My mind was racing, replaying every strange encounter, every shadow that seemed to move on its own. I felt a deep sense of dread, as if something terrible was about to happen. I kept replaying the phone call in my head, the raspy voice, the chilling warning. "They're watching you," it had said. "You can't escape." The voice was so clear, so menacing, that it sent shivers down my spine every time I thought about it. I went online trying to find the forum post again, the one about the Illuminati. I needed answers, some kind of explanation for what was happening to me. The post had detailed strange occurrences, much like what I was experiencing. But now, it was nowhere to be found. But it was gone. Deleted. It was as if it had never existed. I felt a wave of panic wash over me. Was someone trying to cover up the truth, or was I losing my grip on reality? The more I searched, the more questions I had, and the fewer answers I found. My world was unraveling, and I didn't know how to stop it. Panic started to set in. I searched for news articles about the dead blogger, but they were gone too. It was as if someone was trying to erase any trace of him from the internet. I felt a cold dread creep up my spine. They were watching. Days turned into sleepless nights. I saw shadows lurking in every corner, heard whispers in the dead of night. My reflection in the mirror seemed off, like it belonged to someone else, someone being controlled. One evening, as I was driving home, I noticed a black car trailing behind me. It kept a steady distance, never too close, never too far. I tried to shake it off, but it followed my every turn. My heart pounded in my chest. Finally, I pulled over, my hands shaking. The black car stopped a few feet behind me. I sat there, frozen in fear, as headlights illuminated the darkness. After what felt like an eternity, the car slowly reversed and disappeared into the night. I was a prisoner in my own home. Every time the phone rang, I jumped. Every knock at the door sent shivers down my spine. I tried to convince myself it was all in my head, but the fear was always there, gnawing at my sanity. I stopped going online, stopped answering my phone. I felt like a hunted animal, constantly looking over my shoulder, waiting for the inevitable. They were closing in, I could feel it. I tried to tell myself it was all a coincidence, that I was just letting my imagination run wild. But deep down, I knew the truth. They were real, and they were coming for me. I'm writing this as a warning. If you see something, don't look. If you hear something, don't listen. They are always watching. They could be anyone, anywhere. You could be next.